conflict. In northern Mali, the country is divided de facto into two. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, 120 armed groups, yet it is the busiest airspace in the continent of Africa. Minerals are being taken away to Europe and America. Central African Republic, the same. Libya, the same. Several months ago, I wrote to the chair of the African Union and to all African heads of state and said, convene a meeting with only one agenda item. What can we do to save Africa from this slide? Only 4 replied. That is the state of the continent of Africa. We must deal with the basic things. We must solve conflict. We must change our governance. Because if we don't deal with the question of governance, we are going nowhere. Africa has become a continent where after every election there is conflict, because the pursuit of power is a cutthroat competition where throats are actually cut. And when the SMO was here and he consulted the oracles, he discovered that we have a problem in that direction, and that the sooner we resolve that, the safer we will be. Africa can rise and Africa will rise, but it's not going to rise by prayer and fasting. We must pray and fast, but it will not happen, because the last time I checked, even those of you are believers, when Abraham was taken from Ur of the Chaldeans and given Canaan, it was not on a silver platter. He had to fight the Canaanites. He had to fight the Philistines. That is the nature of divine instruction. Go ye and subdue the world by the sweat of thy brow. The kitchen where they make manna was closed. Manna will no longer come, because you must now make your manna. And it is our duty, therefore, as Africans, to begin to rethink the younger generation. You know, there is a saying in Chichewa in Malawi, that more precious than our children are our children's children. So when we are doing these things, we must remind ourselves that we are doing for this generation and generations yet to be born.
He is Professor PLO Lumumba. He said that Africans or Africa can never rise by prayer and fasting. He said even when God asked the children of Israel to take the land of Jericho, they did not fold their hands and wait for the land of Jericho to come to them, but they went there and take it by force. He is directly sending a message to our present generation who want Africans to change, who want our political system to change, that this is what we must continue to do. This is something that we have to do with our hand, our mind, our actions, not just praying and considering prayer to solve the problems that we have at hand. Prayer cannot solve the defects in our healthcare system, in our educational system. Prayer cannot solve so many things that we're supposed to do with our hands. This message is timely. This message is important to us today, because Africans has been facing different kind of things, and we believe that God will come to solve our problem. This is one of the greatest tragedy that I'm seeing in Africa today, because so many Africans are too religious, believing that God will come and do for you what he has given you power to do. But here is a sound message from Professor Lumumba saying that Africa will never rise by prayer and fasting. Now, the message is clear. Professor Lumumba, as you know, is also a Christian who believes the power of prayer and fasting. But he is telling you, for Africa to rise, the solution to it, the key to it, is not prayer and fasting. Now, as we are at the end of 2023, we're about to enter 2024. There are so many things that did not work for us as Africans. There are so many keys that we have tried to open the door of the political revolution in Africa, but it did not work. Now, as we're about to enter New Year, we need to change some certain strategies. So, if you have been praying only, you have to pray and work. If you want your country to change, you ought not to pray alone. You need to work it out. You need to work it out by action. You need to work it out by criticism. You need to work it out by protest. You need to work it out by any civil means that you could use to do something good for your country. It is very unfortunate that in so many parts of Africa, what we prayed for is something that government provide for other countries from around the world. When you go from Australia down to Europe, to Northern and Southern America, and some parts of Asia countries, so many of our prayer points in Africa are the dividends of democracy to these people. If you are sick today, you don't have money to buy drugs, you don't have money to go to hospital, you begin to pray. Yes, God healed it, but God will not come to do for you what you will do for yourself. But in developed countries, your healthcare insurance is there. You don't have money to buy drugs, to do all those things. There is a department that will take care of you. So many people are homeless, are naked. I know sometimes almost the whole country are facing all these things, but it should not be holistic on everyone on Africa. So what Professor Lumumba is passing to us is that we should be able to rise up to our responsibility. We should be able to rise up to do what we ought to do as humans, not leaving our weakness to God to do for us. God has given every human being power. Either you believe in God or not, you have the power to make your life good. You are responsible. You are responsible to everything. You are responsible for your goodness. You are responsible for anything that comes to you, good or bad. Until we assume the responsibility of developing our country, our continent Africa will never move forward. Now, let me also come to fear. A lot of Africans are afraid. They are afraid because those who are in the political power, no matter what they are doing, and Robin Hoodism, robbing the poor of their fundamental human rights and basic amenities, the people they are robbing won't be able to talk. It's a problem. Any slave who cannot rebel does not deserve a pity. If you are a slave and you are unable to rebel against people who are enslaving you, you don't deserve pity. That is just this message. We should cast away fear. We should cast away fear. So many people are praying because they are afraid to talk. They only have prayer to pray to God because they are afraid to talk to people who are responsible for their downfall, who are responsible for their predicament, who are responsible for their failures, who are responsible for every bad thing happening to them. People are afraid. Even when they have the opportunity to meet the government, when they have the opportunity to see those who are impoverishing them, when they have the opportunity to sit and dine with so-called political elite who are making sure that these people are not getting what they deserve, they don't have that courage to talk. It is this courage we must build into ourselves. The courage to be able to speak up. The courage to be able to tell people what life is. To talk to people without fear or favor. Remember, if you talk, one day you may die. And if you did not talk, one day you may die. So it is something that we should not be afraid of. That is just it. Many people are afraid to criticize the government, even when they know that what the governments are doing is totally wrong. Let it end this year. Prayer and fasting cannot save Nigeria. Prayer and fasting cannot save Ghana. Prayer and fasting cannot save neither South Africa nor Kenya nor any other continent in Africa. But we must take responsibility to changing our continent. That is this message. I really thank Professor PLO Lumumba for the kind of message that he is using to awake so many African youth. Share this video to your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel. And above all, always come by for daily updates. See you on my next video. Thank you.